Welcome back to She's Got Game. On this week's episode, I'm sitting down with fellow Nike trainer and boxer, Claire Prince. We're talking about everything from life playing sport as a young kid, starting off in New York, moving to Florida, coming back to New York, setting up a gym in the Hamptons, and all the way up through to the Olympic trials as a boxer, and how heartbreak ended her boxing career and what she's doing now. I think you're going to love this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let's get into it. Claire Prince, welcome to She's Got Game.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining me. We met just 6 weeks ago in Cayman, and
Yes.
we have since met 3 times in 3 different places.
Yeah.
The latest being the Nike After Dark tour.
Yesterday. The day before yesterday.
Let's go. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm happy about my performance. It was
Yeah.
my first official 10K, so I PR'd no matter what.
Yeah. I love that. When I was like, did you get a PB? You're like, technically, yes.
I'm like, yeah, I feel like it. I mean,
yeah.
it's no record anywhere else.
Exactly. I got a time. That's all that counts. What is going through your head ahead of challenges like that? How do you push yourself to get those challenges done?
For this one, I just made sure that I had it in me to carry myself for 6 miles, 10K. And I felt pretty good going into it. I didn't do too much of a strict training program for it, but I was just like, I was very honest about making sure my legs could carry me for 10K. But when I did get there and all the signage and all the words you were seeing, like, this is not a run, this is a race, 1K to find your opponent, 10K to lose them. And I was just like, this doesn't feel like vibes. There's Olympians everywhere. Like,
yeah. It was that one where it said, if you can read this. And I was like, oh, I wonder what's going to come next. And then it changed to, you can run faster. I was like, okay. Oh my God.
So in the beginning, I was like, oh, gee, well, all right, well, this is not just vibes anymore. But I was excited to kind of also, I was like, all right, let's meet this challenge head on. Let's see what I can do with it. And then as you're running, you would see little signs. That was like, send it. And and it happened to be around like the last bend. And I'm just like, you know what? I actually needed to see that. So it's like, I did kind of lean into the competitive nature of this race. Whereas like the one I did in Los Angeles was more about like, you're here. You've already, done half the battle by working and showing up. And it was more about completion, community. Whereas this one, there's a clearer message. It wasn't about just finishing. It was about overtaking people.
Go. Yeah.
Like, let's go. And I enjoyed that. It was one of my first experiences, and I enjoyed leaning into it. And I finished pretty well for the expectations I originally set. So I was like,
you did great.
I like that I leaned into it. Like, it was it felt good to be competitive.
Yeah. Do you feel like your past experience with boxing and the other sports that you've done helps you now push through new challenges like a 10K?
Yeah, because I was like, especially with boxing, it's like there's someone there that's really motivating you to perform. Whereas here, it's just like, it's really you. And you're just reminding yourself of what you've already done and what you can do. And then like, obviously with boxing, it's like, well, at least no one's hitting you. You just have to run a little bit faster.
Every cloud.
I'm just like, just run a little bit faster. That's all.
Your journey has taken a few turns. You've PT'd, you've done boxing. When did you first start realizing that your path might look a little different than everyone else's?
I think I started realizing it around the same time that I reached the fork in the road at some point in my career, shortly after university. I actually thought I'd be a lawyer. So I studied English literature, had a minor in health and phys ed, a little bit of time in poli-sci. So for most of my life, I thought I'd become an attorney.
Wow.
So this was like as much of a shock as it was to maybe other people. It was a shock to me too, because I was like, how did I get here? When I got to that fork in the road where I had to like kind of like choose a direction is when I was like, well, let's just see how it goes. So that's kind of like when I first felt that, I'm like, all right, this is going to be a little bit different, because it was a little bit different from everyone else I was around was going the academic route. And I just made a sharp right into something else that I had never even considered as a career. Not because it's not a great career. It's just, it didn't even cross my mind that it could be a career path. And upon looking for something else, I fell into it. And something just made me lean into it all the way. So I just sent it.
Let's go back to the beginning. What was it like growing up in Florida, and how do you feel like that shaped your early years?
Well, Florida was like one of those places where you're just like, I definitely want to get out of here. Not in a bad way, but for me, it was just like, it's a great place to raise a family and stuff. Good weather for the most part, barring the hurricanes. Those can be kind of crazy. But it felt too slow for me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's called a retirement state for a reason. So it's like people go there to retire, or it's a beautiful place to raise a family. You know what I mean? You can get great homes for relatively decent cost. And but I always felt like it was too slow for me. And I was born in New York. Spent some time in Boston. I shuffled back and forth with parents and stuff. But I ended up just doing middle school and high school in South Florida. So I guess most of my formative years were there. And I always felt that it was just a little not fast enough. Like I was just like, I need stimulation, and I was not going to get it in sunny Florida. I don't know why, but I just always knew I'd be back to New York.
How long were you in New York before you did then move to Florida?
I was in New York from birth to like maybe 7, 8.
Yeah. So do you feel like that you really were drawn to that city life at that stage of your life already, then moving out?
I just didn't know anything else besides that. And then going to Florida, it was like such a shift. Even though I was young, but you were accustomed to certain things, the smell, the air, the lifestyle, the food, the transportation method. So it's like going to Florida. My mom was doing a lot better in life then, you know. So it's just like Florida, you know, I'm like, I'm in my first house as opposed to an apartment. There's grass.
I can run around outside.
You know what I mean? There's also, you know, alligators, but you know, it's Florida.
Just run. What did we say before? As long as you
run
run diagonally, you're fine.
Yeah. That's part of school training. Hurricane drills
and running in zigzags. I'm dying.
So it was definitely a change, but you know, you're a kid. You don't really have a choice. You're just like, all right, well, I guess I'm here. And I leaned into sports a lot more because, you know, and especially in those schools, there's a lot more options, you know. So that's one of the first places I truly started leaning into sports, basketball. And that would be what took me to college.
Okay. So did you play any other sports, or was it mainly basketball?
I ran track.
Okay.
Small distances.
What small are we talking?
We're talking about 100, 200, 4x1.
Yeah.
Like, they made me do the 800 one time, and I cried my way through it.
It's so brutal.
It's a sprint jog. I don't know how else it's a skill.
It's a real skill, and I do feel like you need a certain mindset to fully commit to an 800 because the sessions are just pain.
Yeah.
You've got to enjoy that level of discomfort to be doing it that regularly. So you played a mix of team sports and individual with the track and the basketball. How do you feel like playing each of those shaped who you are today?
Well, at the time I didn't know I was being shaped or forming a foundation, but having been part of sports for so long and so early in my life, it kind of shaped my reality in a way where I couldn't view life without sports, without athletics, without competing, without teammates. I still know some of my teammates, you know, or I keep up with them. And that would later influence a lot of the decisions, namely moving from one career path to another, because I just didn't know how to navigate a life without being in sports in some category. Even as if I were to go down the path of being an attorney, I wanted to be a sports agent. So I was like, even though if I never play another quarter again in basketball, but I wanted to be around it. I wanted to help athletes get the best deals they possibly could, get the best representation. So somewhere inside of me, I always knew like I never wanted to live a life without this. So if I had to use my brain this way to help the next group of athletes, that's fine, as long as I could be close to it. I can still smell it. It's within earshot. I can walk on the hardwood. I can smell the popcorn. I can hear the fans. Like, I didn't know anything besides that, and I didn't want to not know anything besides that either. So,
what do you think the difference between playing individual and team sport taught you about yourself? Were there different, I guess, sides to yourself that were expressed when you were playing basketball versus when you were playing track?
I think I was too young to really kind of really lean into the individual aspect of running track versus playing basketball, especially with track, because you do the 4x1, so that's a handoff. It still felt like a team thing. You know what I mean? You'd still practice with a team. You're running the race on your own, but you're training with a team. You're strength training with a team. So it's like I didn't view it as an individual sport. When it was my time to go, I went alone, or sometimes you go together depending on what race you're running. But I didn't feel alone because you can look left to right and there's always a teammate somewhere. And it didn't hit me that it was an individual sport. I didn't feel like I was doing anything individual until boxing, because then you feel really alone. So that was the difference. But earlier on in life, I didn't feel the difference.
No. Did you have any mentors or coaches or role models who influenced your drive and your work ethic early on throughout your childhood?
I think I was fortunate enough to have enough coaches that were able to spot the potential in me and to kind of like nurture it. Because my parents were just like, what? Sports? What are you talking about? I think my mom came to one game.
Wow.
And I played a lot. So they were just, it's not that they did not like sports. It just wasn't like the priority, but they did not stop me from it either. You know what I mean? So they were just like, they lean into the student athlete part. Student athlete comes first. I maintained my grades. I did well on a roll. I don't know if they do the same thing in the UK, but on a roll is like if you have a higher GPA than most, then you're distinguished in some capacity. So it's like, as long as I met them there, they're just like, well, we're fine. You know, they dropped me off at the games. They paid for the travel tournaments that I did in the summer. So they didn't stop me. They just didn't understand it like I did. And my parents, I think I might be the only athlete in my immediate family. So it's like I discovered something that they didn't know about. They've been accustomed to watching, but they hadn't done it themselves. So I was doing something that they just couldn't identify with 100%. You know? So I'm happy with how that went, because they were like, I don't know what's going on. I can't really support you in the way you need, but I can make sure you have your uniform. I can drop you off on time. Maybe pick you up on time. Like, maybe, I don't know. It's hit or miss. But
my mum was the same. I was always the last kid in the playground and waiting for my mum to pick me up.
Like other parents, like, do you want to come home for dinner? I'm like, I guess. Like,
yeah. Please. Were there moments as a child when you realised that you liked the challenge and you liked pushing yourself? Did your parents instill that in you in a different way or a different avenue from sports? Or was that something you found internally within yourself?
I think, I don't know if this is necessarily a good or a bad thing, but I think I enjoyed being good at stuff. And what came very naturally to me at that point were sports. I was very athletic. I don't know now.
I would say you are.
Holding on for dear life. And I enjoyed, you know, my coaches being like, yeah, you did it, you know? So it's like, I enjoyed that feeling. So that's why I was able to do multiple sports, because I was like, whatever that feeling is, I like this feeling. So I'll work hard for that feeling. When I started, that wasn't the case, but I didn't truly develop a love for the sports until I got a little bit older. But at first it was just like, this is great. Like, you get stuff when you win, or like you get cool outfits or uniforms, or, you know, accolades from the principal, or, you know, you get a cool captain's letter C on your varsity, or, you know what I mean? So I just enjoyed being in that area and having those positive interactions with my coaches. And because I was lucky enough to have good coaches to nurture that in me, I was able to excel.
How does that differ now? So back then you had slightly more, I guess, external motivators that made you feel a way internally. That was, I guess, the thing that really motivated you and you were chasing. When you then step into boxing where you said it does feel quite lonely and it is just you in that ring with your opponent. Yes, you have people in your corner, but I can imagine the blinkers can go on and you're just very in. What motivates you or motivated you in those moments that was perhaps different to during your childhood?
Well, boxing was like, where sports when I was younger, someone was like, you're good, you should do this. And then I found success and I was good at it. Boxing was a decision I made because, again, I finished basketball in university and I don't think I ever played a true game after that. And there was a period of time where I wasn't sure what I was going to do after because my whole life I'd been a student athlete, so I didn't know what a life looked like outside of being student athlete. So I sought out what happens after this? Like, what can I do after this? And boxing was what I went out of my way to choose. So I was like, I made a conscious decision outside of everything I've known. I didn't know any boxers. I watched a movie and I got inspired and I was like, this is what I want to try. So that's a little bit different when you're like, I put myself in this. Whereas someone else was like, you could be good at this. And you want to make them happy because they said you could be good and you end up being good. So you're like, I did it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The boxing was a little bit different. So you had to like, oh, it's so hard. You remind yourself that you put yourself there and you could walk away at any point. And I didn't. I didn't want to. And I had many things come up where that stopped me from competing in boxing, but I always found my way back somehow for whatever reason. It's hard.
It is hard. I think that kind of looking back and reflecting on a journey where, you know, sports have always been such an integral part of your life, and then for whatever reason, that specific sport stops or it ends. When it did stop with basketball, how did you then find a new identity after that era had stopped?
If you don't go Division 1, it's safe to say that you're not going pro. So it's like you kind of knew. I kind of knew the minute I went, I didn't go Division 1. So it's just like, but I was just like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. And I just didn't realize how soon that bridge would get there and how stuck I'd feel within the moment. I didn't know. And I was having what you would call an existential moment my junior year, like, because your whole life, you're a student athlete. You wake up, you go to practice. You wake up, you go to practice. You wake up, you play games. You wake up, you go to school, play more games. During the summer, you play AAU or USSSA. That's travel basketball, like summer league pretty much. And then you go to preseason, and then you go through the season. If you play multiple sports, you do all the sports. And then you repeat this for your whole life. And at some point, after you turn 18, legal in New York, in America, they're like, now this is done and you're going to enter the workforce. And you're like, I have no idea. Like, it's like a jump. You're just like, I didn't know how to not be a student athlete. And at that time, there was no real resource to help you transition. Because whether you're playing the highest level of collegiate basketball or Division III or anywhere in between, no matter what, you are still giving everything you have to offer to this sport. You are waking up early. Your eating is timed based on that. Your studies are based around this. You're playing the games and going to school and still writing your long papers in the middle of the night. So it's like you're still giving everything you have to offer, no matter what level you're at. So, and for someone to just tell you this is it, you don't know life outside of this. So I went through that, like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. And within that, very vulnerable and probably malleable moment. I watched this movie. It came out, $1 Million Baby. Have you ever seen it?
Not seen it, but I've heard of it.
Oh, God. It's a sad movie. It's a sad ending, but it's a good movie worth watching with Hilary Swank. She won an Oscar for it, too. And main takeaway from it, I don't want to spoil it for you much. She's like lady, old, considered older. She's like 32. Down on her luck, whatever, but she has this whatever dream of being a boxer. We don't know why it came or whatever, but she's having it. You know, she's a server. She doesn't make much money. You know, she's taking home scraps to bring to her dog. Like, you know what I mean? And she meets this old surly dude, Clint Eastwood. And he's like, I don't train girls. Like, you know, she wears him down. He starts training her. And you can see where this goes. And it's a beautiful story. But one of my main takeaways was, like, she was older, past her prime, and somehow she was able to find success in this sport. And I went on to look up some stuff, and I realized there's a lot of women who are not 23 who are excelling in women's boxing. So I didn't know necessarily that I wanted to compete. I didn't know anything, go pro, Olympians, anything. I just knew that I was like, well, this is something I could do, that I can build something if I wanted to. I didn't like the idea of how basketball for me after college, it was like high level competition was done. You see what I'm saying? And with boxing, it was like she became a world champion within 3 years. A world champion with the belt, the money, all the things. She bought her mom a house. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't see myself becoming a world champion or anything. I just liked the idea that there was not an end because she was older or because she was past her prime. And I found a boxing gym after that. And I walked in. I was like, look, I'm in college. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm very athletic and I can learn fast. And they're like, you could just pay me $25 an hour, which is nothing. Mm-hmm. Not an hour, a week.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Which is nothing, because he knew I was a kid. I was in college. Yeah, like, I don't know how it is over here, but most college kids are broke. Like, you know, like all you're doing is studying, going to school, and I wasn't like, you know, the product of wealth, you know. So I was like, you know, I was a college kid, so I was like, all right, well, I can do $25 a week. But I worked hard because I was like, you know, you're deciding to take me on, and it was him and this another guy. And he didn't speak English, but he could communicate in sounds and what he wanted me to do. They were Hispanic. And he was like, you know, so I learned the basics there. And I would go on and off with them for a while because boxing is just that crazy and their schedules were crazy. So I trained as long as I could. When my senior season came on with basketball, I had to slow down on the boxing to focus on basketball. So that was the first boxing pause. And then I finished my senior year and I started back up again. But then the guys that were training me, they moved to Jersey, which is far. So I had to stop again. I looked up another gym. I was just like, I'm like, why don't I just work for a boxing gym so I can get free lessons? I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So I was like, I'm going to work for a boxing gym. I'm going to get lessons and I'm going to go to law school, and I'm going to do both and see what takes me where, so you can see where that fork is starting to come. But in my head, I was like, oh, it's a perfect plan. Like, what could happen?
And what did happen?
I found a gym, a Trinity Boxing Gym in New York. I was just like, I'd like a job. And he's just like, well, we're not really hiring. I was just like, I'm in college. I work really hard. And like, he was just like, all right. He's like, I can pay you $10 an hour. This guy with this gruffy voice. He's like, I'm like, I'll take it. Like, it's great. And I go into the gym. I start working. The guy had another gym on the West Coast. So he was gone for like the winter season. So you just needed someone temporarily to cover the winter season. So someone to just check people in, do the laundry, you know, basic gym stuff. And I was like, I can do it. And I did. I hired, I got to do it. And I'm like, my first day is when I met Colin Morgan. They were shooting a film in there. I forget what film, but he was like movement directing the boxing part. It was a film about a boxer. So he's training the actor how to box. And then he sees me. I have my basketball stuff on. He's like, you play a sport? I'm like, I play basketball. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, what else do you do? I'm like, I do some boxing. He's like, you don't know shit about boxing. And I was like, how dare you? I know my ones and twos. Within the next week, he's invited me to train with, like, you train as a team. Like, most coaches, they have what you call a stable of fighters. He's like, come train with the team. I was like, yeah. I went. Clearly, I don't know shit about boxing. I did not, in fact, know anything about boxing. Like, the guys that I had before, they had taught me the basics. But, like, to apply it, it's like someone giving you a wrench, and you don't know what to do with the wrench. You see what I'm saying? So they showed me my left, my right. But what Colin was going to do was teach me how to use it, teach me how to apply it. And that was a different, So I trained with him that first day. It was great. All these heavyweight fighters. And I'm just like, I'm like, the plan's coming together. Like, I'm getting boxing lessons. And we trained that one day. And I was like, thank you. But I didn't want to push my luck. And I was just like, thank you. This was great. I'm honored. I'll be around to watch, whatever. So I'm going in. I'm, doing the front desk stuff. And then, like, 2 days later, he messages me. He's like, where were you today? I was like, oh, I'm at home. Like, he was just like, you missed training. I was just like, oh, I didn't know. He's just like, be there tomorrow. I was like, all right, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. So I went tomorrow, and it became a routine. And again, but at this point, I'm not paying for it. So that's why I was like, kind of like reticent about like, can't just, like, he offered me the first time, so I didn't assume that I should be just coming back. So I was like, and then at some point I had the conversation with him, like, look, I don't, like, I really want to learn about this, but I'm here in life and I'm trying to do this. He's like, don't worry about it. I was like, all right, cool. So we started training and it's going well. I'm starting to learn how to spar a little bit. It's chaotic. And then within like a month, the guy who owns the gym comes back. He's just like, all right, you're great. Bye. Like, because again, it was a temporary job. I was like, no. My plan.
So that was it. You were fired, or
kind of? But it was just like he was like, well, because he was just like, well, I only need someone for the winter. He did say that, so it's like it's not like I didn't know it was coming, but I was like,
it was all working.
Like,
out
can I
so
still
well.
come? He was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, he was just like, not worried about me. So Colin made it so that I could still come. And I was like, all right. So I still came, and like, I was very nice. By that point, I had built a very good relationship with all the members, the guests, the clients. So everyone knew me. So it's like, I didn't deter from the environment either. So it was just like, it was cool. So I would come, but eventually I was like, I actually need a job. And then this is when Colin was just like, there's another gym in the West Village. Go there. Tell them that I sent you. And I was just like, all right, cool. So I applied, front desk job. This is a little bit more of a swanky gym. High-end clients, I was like, look, I just need a front desk job. Like, I already have my trainer over there. I'm not worried about these things. I get it. They barely look at my resume, and they're just like, you speak English? Cool. Awesome. Like, you're hired.
Stop it.
Again, those guys, right? They're just like, cool. Awesome. He's like, you know how to use the computer? I'm like, yeah, I do. They're fine, hired, no problem. So I'm like chilling, front desk girl, teaching myself how to do the front desk. They were so interesting over there. And it went fine. And at that point, they were opening another gym in the Hamptons. So no one was really at the West Village location as much. So me and two other girls who had just gotten hired to kind of like cover the West Village while they were trying to open the other location. We're kind of like hitting the ground running, learning the space, but we banded together and we taught each other. Like, it worked. It was fine. Everything's fine. And then something happens one day. Colin comes by the gym to kind of check up on me, just to see, like, but I'm not there yet. I had later shift or whatever. And then he asked the two guys at the front desk that owned the gym. They were hanging out. He's like, where's Claire? They're just like, who's Claire?
What?
Again.
God. Who's Claire? No.
You hired me a week ago. Like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
Just to show you.
Yeah.
And then he describes me. He's like, oh yeah, the front desk girl. And he's like, yeah, that's my boxer. And they're like, she can box? And like, he's like, yeah, I've been training for X amount of time. And they're just like, oh, we didn't know she can box. By the time I came back in the afternoon, they're like, you can box? I'm like, yeah. I was like, they're like, you didn't tell me you can box. I'm like, well, it's in my resume under extracurriculars, but you weren't paying attention, so we're just gonna let that fly. And then within that hour, they had me train with, they had a coach there. They wanted to see what I looked like. So I hit mitts. I hit mitts. And then by the next day, they had asked me to be a trainer.
Wow.
That's how fast it happened. Because they needed a female trainer. And the one that they did have did not box as well as I did. And I had more experience, and I learned from Colin. And what I didn't realize till later on, Colin had trained the owner when he was younger.
Okay.
So he knew that I came from someone who was credible in the craft. And normally as a trainer, you need a cert, all that good stuff. I didn't have a cert because, again, my mind wasn't on becoming a trainer. But what I did have by accident in college was a minor in health and phys ed. I took all active courses in college as my electives. At some point, my guidance counselor was like, if you take these 2 written courses, you can get your minor in this. And I was like, all right, whatever, cool. Whatever. Like, again, I'm not thinking about I was just like, oh, it's on the way? Sure, why not? But it's technically a degree. So it gave me the license to train someone. So it just happened to fall in, like, perfectly. And it was just like, and that was one of the first times when I look back that I realized it was setting up and I didn't even know it. So I became a trainer, making $25 per session, which I thought was like, from 10 to 25, I'm rich.
Yeah.
So I started training, and I got really good at the job. And within like 4 months through the summer, they asked me to be the general manager of the Hamptons location. I got really good at the job fast because I was ambitious. I was fast. And because they were away at the Hamptons location, I was holding the fort down here. And I was learning all the different aspects of it. And I was just like, and as a trainer, you don't make much money outside of that session. So I was like, can I keep my front desk hours as well? And they let me keep my front desk hours. And then I could do inventory because I had a background in retail. So I started folding and doing inventory. So it gave me more hours. And then I started assisting in the group fitness classes because that's extra cash when you assist. I started doing that. So subconsciously, I was learning every aspect of the company. So by the time the Hamptons season ended and they needed someone to run it, it made sense to give it to me because I had already learned every aspect of the company, which was great. And that came with a significant, because once you go from front desk to trainer to general manager, that's a big jump in salary as well. But what happens is I accepted it, but I forfeited going to law school, and I forfeited boxing because I had to leave.
Yeah.
So that's when I stopped boxing again. So you see the stop starts?
Mm-hmm.
So then I would stop boxing for the next 5 years.
Because that's the part of the story that I didn't realise, that you boxed previously and that you had this 5-year break. I thought you took it up later on.
No. So it was always, that's why I kept saying, like, it's always in the, like, from the time I saw the movie, like, I was inspired.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll find a way. So each time I kept trying to find a way, but life would happen. And as a general manager, I was set to make X amount of money that rivaled what you would make as an attorney at that point. And like, at that point, I was just like, the faster I can make X amount of money, the faster I can come back to the city. And I can go back to boxing. So it's like, but I made a choice there to kind of forego school. I'd already finished undergrad, but I was just like, again, forks in the road, just making decisions. And I would work and stuff. And by the time the Hamptons got its feet under itself, like 3 years, 3.5 maybe, I was able to start being in the city more. So as soon as I got the chance to be back in the city more, I was like, I want to box. Colin's here, I want to box. And I had not trained with anyone else at that point either. So it's like, but then by the time you're a manager, so you don't have time to work on yourself. And again, I'm young at that point. I'm in my 20s. So I don't know work-life balance means. And it's my first, now I think about it, it's my first job out of college as well, first real adult job. So it's like, I don't know what's right and what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what should and shouldn't be happening. So I'm ambitious enough to just, dive in, lean in all the way in. So I'm all the way in, but finally I get a chance to get back into New York full time. I come back into New York, and I was like, I don't want to keep teaching boxing classes if I myself have never been a boxer. That was always like the chip on my shoulder, because we did group fitness classes, and I was just like, I learned from good people, but I always felt like I have no business teaching people something that I've never tried. Like, I didn't like the idea of teaching from theory rather than experience. I hated that. And I hated that I was in that position. And I was like, this is messing up the plan.
So let's talk a bit about your early years of coaching then, because you had those 5 years where you weren't doing as much boxing, but were you heavily involved in coaching during those 5 years?
Yeah, I started personal training a lot.
Yeah.
So I built that location. So by built, I'm talking about I'm recruiting new trainers. I'm recruiting new group fitness instructors. I'm recruiting the front desk staff. So before all these people came there, I'm doing all the classes and all the sessions and all the laundry and all the, cleaning and all the ordering, building. So it's like I did a lot of it on my own in the process of building that gym or filling it out with people. So in that process, I trained kids, I trained younger people, I trained very fit people, very fit adults, I trained celebrities, I trained athletes, I trained moms, I trained I trained a bunch of old ladies, breast cancer survivors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we formed our little club. We have even got featured on the Today Show, and Everlast sponsored it. It was one of the first moments that I was just like, I love my job. Like you feel, So that I did that out there as well. So that gave me a range of people because I was the only trainer. So no matter who, and I was still trying. Again, you're a manager. You have to build profit. So I couldn't say no to sessions. So. Or group fitness classes. So I'm taking it all in until I can fill out and give the roles out to other people. Mm-hmm. So in the process, I learned, but I learned in real time. Like I had to hit the ground running, making mistakes.
We all do. Considerable
mistakes, but lucky enough for me, the members weren't aware of these considerable mistakes. Yeah. Now I'm like, I can train anybody with my eyes closed.
Yeah. Having had that athletic background and having been coached by multiple people in multiple sports, what elements of that made the transition to coaching easy or natural or smooth? And what elements of having been an athlete yourself do you feel like then made it actually quite difficult with coaching? Did you have any?
So it didn't take me too long to figure this out, but I was just like, everybody is not you and they cannot do what you can do. So when I was starting, again, a lot of people, when they enter the group, the fitness landscape, they know they want to be a trainer. They study this in university, kinesiology, exercise science, biomechanics. I did not have that background. I had two older dudes who had a ton of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge, who gave me a crash course in it. And I had my experience as an athlete. And I had my health and phys ed minor. So I was learning in real time. But what I was smart enough to do was know that I didn't know everything. So I made sure to ask a lot of questions, and I would go back and do my own research. So by the next session, I was able to meet them where I needed to meet them. So I give myself credit there. And I learned quickly that I was just like, you can't train them like you would train yourself because everyone's different. So that I did learn. And then in terms of like, as an athlete, what I would transferable skills were just, I created an environment that felt athletic and competitive like, so it kept them out of their, like you have people who are training and they hate training and they're reminding you that they hate training. So I tried to get their mind off of that you're training and create an environment that was a little bit more like, all right, we're building towards something here, we're so close. So I kind of used that experience I had. Again, I'm working with little resources here. I'm learning on the job. It's so interesting. Like, so interesting.
So you've worked there, you've worked at some other places, you obviously now work for yourself as well with your clients. All of these people, all these different environments, how did you then and how do you now adapt your approach to meet the client in front of you where they're at?
Now, for sure, the first two things I always ask a potential client are, one, do you have any health and physical limitations? Are you cleared by your physician? Whatever. That's important. And then the second one is their goal. I feel like a lot of approaches that I've been part of in the past had like a set of how you should train someone, and it didn't leave enough room for variables or different circumstances that people would have, because no one is the same. No one is the same. So now the first thing is, outside of making sure they're clear, I'm like, what is your actual goal? And then from there I can attack it, whatever it is that we need to. But I think that is one of the most important things you can ask a client, a prospective client. It's just, what do you want out of this?
How often do you find that what the client tells you they want is actually what they really want?
Maybe half the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because like once we start getting going, and you know, clients, and you know how it is. Like you're a therapist, so you start learning more about the client. And they start divulging a little bit more about what they actually want, or comparisons, or whatever. And then I start adjusting and asking more questions, and eventually they really tell you the truth of what they want. But at first, everyone wants to say, "I want to be healthy. I just want to be healthy." And it's just like, well, yeah, ideally most of us want to be healthy. That's fine. But then it's just like, how can I really help you? Like, what do you, like, how can I actually make your time and money worthwhile? So, I would say 50% of the time.
Do you feel like from your experiences working for other people that has changed your coaching style? Like, what are some things you've taken from that are positive, that have really you've taken with you and you've wanted to continue? And what are some things that you've seen, maybe not just in the jobs you've been in, but in the fitness industry itself, where you are like, I don't think that's very beneficial to helping clients achieve the goals that they want?
Well, one of my first bosses did tell me, was just like, he would say stuff like, he's like, he do these weird analogies. God, he was so interesting. But this one stuck with me. He's like, one time I ate a bag of chips. I was like, what?
Where are we going?
He was like, it's the best bag of chips I ever had. I'm like, okay. And he was just like, but I couldn't find it here in Jersey. He lived in Jersey or whatever. And I was like, all right, so what happened? He's like, so I searched for it far and wide. He found it online at some whatever. And then he's just like, I found it. I was going to buy it, but it was like $75 for shipping. And I was like, what? Why am I? But he's like, I really want the bag of chips. It's the best bag of chips I ever had. It's good. Da-da-da-da-da. So I bought the bag of chips. I was like, all right, cool. He says, like, that's how you need to be in terms of like, he's just like, if you are good at what if you are truly that good at what you do, no matter what, they will find you. People will spend X amount of money, invest in that time with you if your product is that good. So he did go out of his way to make sure that I understood that. He's like, you want to champion knowing what you're talking about first. At the very least, that kept with me, and which would immediately, like, eventually have me seek out higher education. I was just like, well, if I'm going into the fitness thing, I actually need to lean into this, because at first it was just like, oh, I'm just following like the vibes. And now I'm just like, well, I'm here. Let me lean into this. So that always stuck with me. The idea that like, if someone really wants something and if it's that good, they'll do what they need to get it. So it's just like, it's like, you need to be like the bag of chips. So you need to do your homework. You need to do your research, get your certs, put in your practices, put in your practicals, ask questions where you can. Go to things like Stu's Camp in Palm Heights. You know what I mean? So I've actively always, every year, tried to do something to increase my ability to train people.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
I will say I kept that. And in terms of like what I see in the fitness landscape, there's nothing in particular that I'm like, oh, this is so terrible because I don't spend too much time watching other people. I spend more time investing in my own self-growth for the sake of my clients and my growing practice. But I'm always just like, bro, just stay away from the hard trends. Don't look at the scale. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're going to lose weight, sometimes you'll put on muscle mass. So then it offsets your scale a little bit. So it's just like your clothes might be fitting better, but your weight maybe didn't change. So it's like, don't use that as a metric. So I'll say stuff like that sometimes. But I don't go out of my way to kind of like, and even if I do see something in the fitness landscape that I don't like, I don't bring it to their attention either. Like, because if they don't even know it exists, I'm not going to even let them know that people are taking tirzepatide shots instead of Ozempic. I'm like, it's the same stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah,
I'm not even going to bring this up. We're just going to stay the course here because it's been working. You have longevity. You're healthy. You're stronger. Like, just stay right here.
This is working.
Don't look over there. Just right here. Just
yeah.
right here.
It's funny because a lot of the people I've met who are really successful, they spend a lot less time looking at where other things are going wrong and a lot more time on how they can improve what they're doing. And I think it goes for listeners who, no matter what field you're in, comparison these days is so huge with social media growing in the way that it is. But actually the amount of people who have sat in that chair opposite me who are happy, healthy, successful are very good at blocking out that outside noise. And it's such a good skill to learn. At what point did you start thinking about building your own personal training business? Did you have those imposter syndrome thoughts that were coming in? How did you shut them out and what made you take that leap?
I started considering building up my own practice maybe a couple years before I left my last job because I kind of felt that I had learned everything I could in that space. And I wanted to kind of start my own method, you know? Like, while I was in that space, I honored the way they did things, but I had felt that I was like, I'm ready to do something different. And again, in the back of my mind, boxing was always there. So I was like, I need to create an environment where I could make a living, train my clients, but also, you know, see this through, because I've been trying to see this through since I was in my early 20s. So it's like I owe myself that. I gave so much to this one place. I gave so much to all these people. I owe myself this. So that was a part of the motivation of building my own practice. One, I wanted to deviate a little bit from the standard that I was experiencing at my former job. And then at the same time, I wanted to create a better work-life balance, enabled me to live too, you know?
So was that the point where you then got back into boxing to commit fully, and then that's when things just took off?
Yeah, in 2023, I was just like, all right, I think 2022 is when I planted that seed in the back of my head. So I was like, I started building my own independent practice outside of where I worked. And I honored my current job at that time. I didn't take any clients, and I just started building my own independent practice outside. And then, again, if you're good at what you're doing, you inevitably will get some referrals. You know what I mean? So I didn't even have to do too much advertising. So I'd go by one. And by the time I got to a certain place where I was out earning what I was doing or what I was making at that gym, I was like, all right, I think I'm ready to jump. And then by the time 2023 hit, I tendered my resignation and signed up for the Golden Gloves. And I was like, all right, here we go.
So take us back to that first fight. For people who don't know what the Golden Gloves is, let's just start off by explaining.
The Golden Gloves is an amateur boxing tournament in America. Most cities, most major states hold it. And in New York, it's one of the most, it's like if you want to really get into boxing, fighting, competing, you have to go through that. And then it opens the doors for everything else. But it's just like, but it's where you start. Everyone starts there. And it's an honor. And they used to get, when you win, you used to get golden gloves, those chains with the golden gloves. Oh, yeah. But at some point, they changed the name of the tournament from Golden Gloves to Ring Masters because of, I think the Daily News used to sponsor it. The Daily News Golden Gloves, that's what it's called. And they changed sponsorships and legal reasons, yada, yada. So again, so they changed it to the ring masters, and now when you win, you get a ring.
Oh, I love that though as well.
It's a big rock.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's nice.
Who doesn't love a big rock?
I'm like, I have one. But it's essentially, it's the same tournament. You go through the same thing. It's the same qualifier. And if you win that one, the Ring Masters, you punch your ticket to the National Golden Gloves. It's because it's like every state does their own. And then the winners of each state go to the national. So now everyone you're seeing is a winner.
Yeah.
Before, it's like, everybody. Everyone's trying to become the winner. But then you go to the nationals, to get to nationals, it's like, oh, everybody's a winner. This is a different level of competition.
Yeah. What was going through your mind before your first fight?
Oh my God. It was so my first fight wasn't in 2023. It was in 2020.
Okay.
This was when I was able to come back to Manhattan. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to train. But my then boss was just like, just do the Golden Gloves right now. I was like, no, as an athlete, you know when you're ready. And I'm just like, I need 6 months. I'll work on a different tournament. Sign me up. I had 2 months. I'm out of shape because if you're a manager, you're not really worrying too much about your own fitness. You're worrying about everyone else's fitness. So I'm out of shape. I haven't been training boxing at all. Like I know the basic stuff, but to apply the stuff, I hadn't learned that yet. So I was just like, going into it, I felt so underprepared. And as an athlete, you know when you've done the work and you're ready. Like you were ready for After Dark. I watched your whole training block. Like you did the sprints. You did everything you were supposed to do. So by the time you showed up, you felt good. You weren't nervous. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on, but you're like, I'm eager to see what comes out of this. I'm eager to see what my body produces. This is not what I felt. I was panicking. I called Colin as soon as I realized I was signed up. I was like, I'm signed up. Do you think I can? He's like, you'll be fine. Again, now I'm realizing he was saying it to make sure I wasn't, like, he was trying to keep my nerves down. All right. 2 months later, we're there. I walk in, and they all put us all in the same locker room. So you see everyone you're going to fight in that locker room.
That's not okay.
It's not okay. And then on top of that, like, I didn't know who I was going to fight.
Oh, my God.
So in New York City, for men, they have a novice division. So it's like anybody with 5 fights or less fights people with 5 fights or less. Anybody with 10 fights or less fight people with 10. So it keeps it relatively level playing field. You know, they don't have that for women because there's not enough women. So luckily for me, like, they do a draw. They do the draw right then and there. And they pull out my name. And they pull out this girl, Victoria, does something. I forget her last name. I'll never forget it. She has like 40 fights and I have 0. And I'm like,
wow.
And I'm just like, it's cool. It's not cool. I'm using the bathroom every 5 minutes because you get that feeling. You don't know if it's going up or down. Like, yeah. I'm just like, I don't know. It's my first fight. I don't know what I'm feeling. And Colin's there, and then Brian is there as well. He's a pro fighter at that time, but he would go on to corner me for all of my fights as well. So they work together with me. They've been to all my fights. So Brian and Colin are very integral to my boxing career journey. And they're making jokes. They're trying to keep it light. It's not light. I don't feel light. This is fucking terrible. It's the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. No, because in the back of my head, I was just like, I've been an athlete before. I'm not new to sports. So I know when I'm not prepared. So all in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't feel prepared. And now I'm feeling these feelings that I've never felt before. And it just feels like someone opens like a gas valve inside of you, and it just like seeps out, and it's just like corroding inside you, and you just like want to like keel over, but you can't because they're all in the same room. So you can't.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. And finally it's time for me to go on. And I'm going on, and you get to the ring, and the closer I get to the ring, I feel like it feels like someone put shells over my ears. So it's like I can't really hear. It feels like you know what I mean? I'm walking in, the ref, he grabs my hand, he's just like shaking it. He's like, how many fights do you have? I'm like, Claire Prince, 0. He screams into the other ref, Claire Prince, 0. I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna tell her. Like, she can hear you. Like she can hear you. Shut up.
Keep it to yourself. It's a secret, okay?
I mean, but it's a thing that they do.
Yeah.
And then he's saying things. I mean, now it's like he'll say things that's like, they'll tell you the rules, da-da-da. When I say stop, you say stop. When I say box, you say box. I didn't hear none of that shit. And then they finish with protect yourself at all times. That's the main thing, refs, protect yourself at all times. And then I might go to the corner, and the lights feel too bright because it's on a platform. My jersey, I'm like, it's too tight. I can't breathe. And my coach, they're chilling. And I'm just like, why is no one else? Like, how is no one feeling what I'm feeling? Whatever. The bell rings. Boom. My body moves forward because for the last 2 months, I'm just moving forward. My body moves forward, but my hands are not moving. This girl is teeing off on me.
Oh, no.
She's having the time of her life. My head's like...
Like what those dogs called where it's like the bobblehead?
Yes.
Was it like that?
She's having the time of her life. But the funny thing is, and I remember the announcer saying, like, Claire Prince is aggressive. She's moving forward, but she's not punching. So it's like my body, it's like half my body, like my body knew to move forward, but my head was just like...
Didn't know what to do.
It was not part of the program at the moment. So for that first round, like, it's like... They couldn't stop it because my body was active, you know, because normally if I'm just standing and I'm not doing anything, then it's showing that I'm not responsive. But because I'm advancing, so it was such a weird thing for the refs to probably judge. They're like, I don't know. She's like stalking her, but she's not doing anything. And at some point she gets me on the rope and she's teeing off on me. And I just remember in my head, and I'm like this, and I just remember in my head, like, just wait for the 3 knocks. When there's 10 seconds left in a round, there's 3 knocks. So I just remember saying, just wait for the 3 knocks. Just wait for the 3 knocks. 3 knocks comes. And finally, you go to your corner. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm feeling. And, like, all I remember is, like, someone hits my legs hard, like, smack. And then someone shoves ice water down my back. And my coach, he's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. He's like, are you awake now? Because I guess it looked like I was, like, glazed. He's like, are you? I'm like, I'm awake. Like, with the ice water down my back. Da-da-da. I go in. Second round, I throw a big right hand out of nowhere, and it lands. It connects beautifully. It shocks her, it shocks me, it shocks everybody. Because, again, I was like a zombie the first round, so she's not expecting the right hand, and I don't know where that came from either. So, but all I know is this works. So for the whole round, I am looking for that right hand. And then and I come back the second round, like, compared to what I did the first round. And the third round, her experience wins out. She starts timing it. Because I'm launching this from back here. Again, all this shit you learn out the window.
Yeah.
Like, you don't remember. Like, the rules, hands up, none of that. It's just adrenaline and vibes. Like you're just going. So she would see it coming, slip it, and then just, like, she would counter in my stomach. So she'd slowly, like, your wind is here.
Yeah.
So she might not be hitting my face over and over, but she's chipping away at my wind, at my body. So she's taking the wind out of my sails, essentially. But I don't know this. It's my first fight. She has X amount, you know. And then fight's over. She wins. I'm like, you know, hands up, and then they put hers, and then mine goes down. I'm just like, oh, God. And you got to go see the doctor. I'm just like, oh, God. See the doctor. They do their thing to make sure you're responsive. Like, there's a doctor at the end of right after you'd fight. Like, you just got your ass beat, and someone's like, yeah, let me check. And then I go in the locker room, and I cry. Because I felt it coming, and I go and I just cry. And I flip over a table because I was so mad. And the table was, like, so small.
Flipping that shit, yeah.
It's the only thing I can flip over. And that was the other thing. The girl was bigger than me. We're similar weight classes, but what happens is she came down in weight, whereas I was smaller and I just came up. So I walked around like 114, so I fought at 119. This girl was probably at 125, so she came down. So it was like she was bigger. Like, it was just all the things. I'm like crying. I'm upset. The guy who signed me up there, my ex-boss, he was there too. He's like, oh, you didn't do that bad. I'm like, what do you mean it's your fault? Like, I was so...
This is why we're here. Yeah,
I was just like, I told you I wasn't ready. I was embarrassed. And my coach comes in. He's like, you flip another table, I'm never coaching you again. So I was like, I'm sorry. Turn it back over. He's like, you keep your calm. And he's like, you did great for your first fight. He's like, no one is ever ready for their first fight. He's like, the fact that you woke up the second round tells me everything I need to know about you. You showed up for yourself when it mattered. But she has 40 and you have 0. It's okay. but you're an athlete. A loss is a loss. And in boxing, it's like someone beats your ass. So it feels like 10 losses.
Yeah, you know about it.
So we make a game plan, and he's just like, we're gonna train. We know what you need to work on. Now you've got your first fight. It's out. It's done. Now you know what to expect. What happens 2 weeks later? Pandemic. I stopped boxing again. Now we can fast forward to 2023 when I quit my job, and I was like, I'm gonna do the Golden Gloves again. And this time I was ready.
So what was the difference in your mindset then? What would you say was the biggest difference? Obviously, physically, you'd had more preparation. You had that first fight under your belt. Mentally, you probably felt more confident because you'd had more time to prepare. But what were you telling yourself walking into the ring for the first fight of that tournament that was different to round one when you did it before?
I was telling myself that I wanted this. Because between that first fight and then the second one, it always bothered me. I was like, there's no way that I've grown to love this sport so much, and I watched a lot of it, that all I have is one loss to show for it. Like, I can't finish my career right here, even if it's amateur. I was just like, it didn't, as a competitor, as an athlete, it didn't feel right for me. And I was like, I didn't give it everything I had. I didn't get a fair shake at it. So with this time, I was just like, I planned around it. Like, I was just like, you're here. And remember, I told you I quit my job. And that first fight, you know where the venue was?
Wasn't at the...
It was at the job.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, because they hosted. Because, like, what happens in New York, different gyms will host the fights. They'll offer their gyms because they can sell the tickets at whatever price, and they keep the profits. In exchange, USA Boxing Metro gets to have a venue.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? So most gyms will want to host it. And it's like, it's good for your gym. Like, if you're a boxing gym and boxing matches are happening, local boxing, like, you support your local fight. You see the vibes. And it was there, and I was just like...
That's some universe shit right there.
I was just like, and it was a test. It was like a test. And it was my first fight back, and I hadn't fought since that last loss years ago. It was just like, and I won. And then I would go on to keep winning for the next, 9 fights.
And then it was Olympic trials, right?
At the end of December.
What was that experience like?
It was short-lived. It was just an honor to, like, make it. Just that whole process of getting there, something kept coming up. Much like how like, I started boxing, I stopped because the guy moved to Jersey. I started boxing again, I stopped because I had to go to Hamptons to work. I started again, I stopped because of the pandemic. So I started boxing again. I won the Ring Masters, the Golden Gloves. And I was supposed to go to the National Golden Gloves, right? And they said I couldn't go. I'm like, but I'm the winner. Why can't I go? They're like, normally the winner is an elite fighter. Elite fighter just means someone with 10 or more fights. Remember, normally someone with that little amount of fights doesn't win. So they were just like, you can't go. So I stopped for a little bit, and I was just like, why does this keep happening? So within like a month, I see the Connecticut Invitational. I was like, I'm going to do that one. I do that one. I win it. And then right after that, so at this point, I'm building fights because tournaments, you fight 2 or 3 times. I was like, all right, fine. I can't go to National Golden Gloves. It's fine. There's other ways to get there. You know what I mean? So I win. Add it on. Then I see the International Women's Tournament in Ohio. I sign up. We go. I fight more times, and I win that too. So by this point, I have like, what's it, 3? I have like 7 or 8. I'm still not elite, but I'm still winning because you need 10. So then the national qualifiers come around, the last chance qualifiers, because like the National Golden Gloves is like one of the places that you can get a ticket to the Olympic trials. So there's 3 big tournaments. The National Golden Gloves that year, and there was another one that I was not elite. And I didn't have enough fights, so I couldn't do it. And then finally, they had the last chance qualifiers. It was the last one. It's in Colorado. It's in September. And I was like, I wrote to them. I was like, look, I don't have 10 fights yet, but I have an incredibly high winning percentage because at that point I don't have a loss besides that first one in 2020. I explained my situation, I'm just like, it's not my fault, whatever. And then so they're just like, all right, you can go. So then they made me sign a waiver. It's pretty much saying like, if you die here,
wow,
we're not taking, but that's
Yeah.
what it is. Cause like the purpose of maintaining like those boundaries is for your safety too.
Yeah.
Cause you're going to see, especially at an elite level, like a higher level, you're going to see a lot more skilled fighters. And those skilled fighters are not necessarily going to be lenient on you just because you have less experience.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They actually
We'll go in and just, yeah.
they'll make a point to you. So they have to do those things. Well, they could have just told me no. But they were just like, all right, but you'll sign this. And I was fine. I was just like, all right, cool. And I made it. Again, something always has to happen, right? So what happens is I have a teammate. I was going USA route for trying to go to Olympic trials. She was going to the Asian route, Bangladesh. And what happened is we didn't know if I was going to get an answer, a yes or no. But she got her answer first to compete at like the Asian Games in September. Long story short, they committed, my coach, we have the same coach, committed to going to the Asian Games because we didn't know if I was going to make it. We didn't know if they were going to say yes. And it came as a shock. And it was a last minute thing. So I was like, and hers is the Asian Games. And it's like, how do you pick one? So he had to go with her. So Brian was supposed to go with me, but he had a fight that week. So I was like, I'm at this point, right? I'm just like, if I don't go, then I definitely don't get a chance. So I was just like, I'll go alone. So I reached up to my friend. I was like, another boxer. And I was like, I know your coach is going with, he had a male fighter that was going to last chance qualifier as well. I'm like, do you mind if he corners me too? And she's like, yeah, I got you. Like, his name is da-da-da. I reach out to him. He talks to my coach, and he agrees to be there. So I'm like, I fly to Colorado. It's like, I'm nervous. I've never, like, Brian's not there. Colin's not there. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. It's hard. But it's the last shot you have. And I go. And I remember calling Colin right before. And I'm just like, it's fine. Just, he's just like, you just need to get to the end. And I'll be there for the trials. Just pass through this. Man, I go. And I end up making it to the finals. And in the finals, it was a girl that was like, you hear the accolades and and I second guessed myself. It's like I'm not saying that she was not good. She was great. But I didn't give myself enough credit. It's like when you give someone too much respect, and so you take yourself out of the fight. And so by the time I realized I could hang with her, it was too late, and I ended up losing. But number 1 and 2 get the tickets. So I still qualified. But I remember that last fight, and I was just like, I kept looking for my coach's voice, and I couldn't find it, and I just imploded in there. And it was just like, I still got the ticket, but it was just one of those moments where I was just like, well, I still got it done. So it was fine. But again, something always happens with my boxing.
Yeah. I mean, you've been through so many challenges, yet you still managed to continue.
I kept trying. I was just like, there's got to be a way. I spent all this time not boxing. When I finally get the chance, it's an Olympic year, and I'm going for it. So I was just like, and to me, the fact that I kept winning was a sign. I was like, why would I stop? I'm like, a way will come, and what I didn't realize, it's the top 2 that go. So because even though I got second place, they're like, you punched your ticket. You're going to Olympic trials. And I was like,
yeah.
I still go to the bathroom and cry though, because I'm just like, oh, I just got my ass beat again.
It's obligatory. I would do the same. Even if, I mean, it's such a brutal sport, isn't it? Where you are literally beating each other up.
Yeah. But like this one, I cried not because it was just like, it wasn't like bad. Like it was like, again, it felt like that first fight where I was just like, I knew I could do more by just circumstances. Before I didn't have enough training. This one, I didn't give myself enough. And this is where you need your coach.
Yeah.
and you're looking for your coach, and I can't find him, and I was getting frustrated because I'm like, I'm looking for that voice and I can't find it, and I don't know what to do. And the guy's nice, the other coach, but he's not your coach, so it's like, oh.
It's different. It's so different. Just having almost that voice of comfort calms you. You almost don't need to hear what they're saying. You just need to hear their voice.
But also, I'm reactive to Colin. Like, so when he tells me to do something, I react in real time. So if he's like right hand, left hook, I'm throwing it within that second. And normally it times with what he's a savant when it comes to boxing. So I was always also looking like, what do I do? And normally I need to hear that a couple times. And then in my head, it opens up what I should do next. But I wasn't getting that initial, like, so it was hard to find my flow to begin with. And I'm just like, maybe I just fucking suck. Like, I shouldn't have even been here. I wasn't, I don't even have 10 fights. I'm not elite. I wasn't supposed to be here. But
I honestly think the fact you made it there without your 10 fights speaks volumes.
And no, I'm so proud of that. I was just like, yeah, it was cool. Like, I was like, no, I'm gonna try. I was just like, high risk, high reward, and I won out in the end. But like after that, again, I left with a game plan. I'm like, look, last time I lost, I went on like a 9-fight winning streak. So I lost again. Who knows what? And right after that, we did the exhibition Russia, and I won that one. And then that's when injury set in. And it was one of those injuries where it's like you just need to rest. But if you have you can't rest when you have something as big as the Olympic trials coming up. And at that point, again, I'm severely underexperienced. And I'm going to see girls who've been fighting girls around the world the whole time while I was doing boxercising in the Hamptons. So that's why we went to Russia, was to give me
exposure.
I needed to fight someone, and it was a ruthless It was a ruthless fight. It was my first fight without headgear. And I won it. So it gave me especially coming after a loss, it gave me the confidence I needed to move forward to this. But the injury wouldn't let me go through, and that was the end of it.
How did you process that being the end and those setbacks that you overcame so many? And then that final one with the injury, how did you process that and come to terms with it?
I mean, I was definitely like not happy. I definitely threw myself a pity party. Like, I think for the month of December, I like disappeared. Like, I shut off my Instagram. Like I threw myself a pity party and like ate ice cream and pasta every day because I could, and watch Grey's Anatomy. Like, what else was I like? It was like, and then like, and you're watching everyone qualify, and like people are making like, look at my ticket to Paris, and I'm just like, but eventually I was like, the way I had to put it is like, if I had kept going, I would have injured it in a way where I would have never had proper function of it, because I hyperextended there, and I saw a shot of where I actually injured it, because what happened is I hyperextended my elbow. It's like when you land a punch too straight, and she was too far, so I straightened out my arm and reached for it. So by the time I made impact, and I landed relatively hard, like between the impact and landing in that weird angle, it's like all the joints just like crunch into each other. In the moment, you have adrenaline, so you're not feeling anything. Like, I'm Superman. Like, no, I'm Batman. It's crazy. I can't believe I said that.
You actually are Batman, and everyone needs to know that before we finish this podcast.
That's so crazy. I said that. Sorry, DC Comics. I was kidding. And it just never healed. And I would start feeling residual pain in my wrist and in my shoulder. And this is my right hand. This is my strong hand. I have 3 knockouts. So it's like I understood my strengths where I hit hard for my weight. So one of Colin's finer skill sets is like finding out what you're naturally good at, what your natural ability is, and building around that. So he's not trying to make you into a certain fighter. He's taking what comes naturally to you, and he's like, I'm going to amplify that, and I'm going to build the skills around what you can do. And you've said it before, I'm explosive. And that comes out in my punches, my strong hand, my right hand too. So it's like I've had 2 TKOs, like where it was right. So it's like, so the fact that it was this hand that was injured, it was like it took away a lot of my ability to. So I was even thinking, I'm like, could I fight with one hand? Like I was doing everything. There's KT tape all over. Like, what was that doing? I don't know. But I was like, I don't know.
Wrapping it up.
I'm doing everything I can. You know, and then I started feeling it in my shoulder because you're trying to compensate. So I started feeling it in my fingers, and I was just like, you just get to a point where it's just like your body's just like, bro, if you don't stop, I will. So, and I hit that moment, and then in boxing, you see a doctor, you see a whole bunch of people before you fight. So the morning of the fight, let's say you fight at 12 or 6 p.m., you weigh in at 6 a.m. Thank God, because, you know, you weigh in when you're lightest, use the bathroom. So you weigh in, they check your eyes, ask you a series of questions, and then they have a physical test. So they make you bounce, they check your ankles, your knees, and then they do this arm thing. And I was going to fail the arm thing. It was like, so it's just like, what could you do? So I had to look at it like if I didn't stop now, like either I was going to really get my ass beat in front of a bigger audience, or I was going to ruin my arm for God knows how long. All this without health insurance on top of that. I fought a whole year without health insurance because remember, I just left my job and I was going on vibes. Yeah. Again, tell me you're an American without telling me you're an American. Oh, gosh. So I had to take a lot of things into consideration. I was like, so I took the moment for what it was, and I accepted it.
What would you say are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from your entire boxing career?
100%. If you want it, you'll find a way. Like, I held on to that first movie from my early 20s. I'm in my early 30s now. Like, I held on to it. And I was just like, it took me a minute. And then by the time I had my first fight, chaos. I held on to that feeling again of not wanting to stay not a loser, but like, this can't be my only thing in boxing. I learned about it so much. I've loved it so much. It's becoming such a big part of my identity. I've been coaching, and all I have to show for it is one loss. Not that it makes you a worse coach, but again, one of my bigger things was like, I cannot be someone who coaches from theory or just theory, because that does matter. Learning. I have to be someone who can tell you from experience why you do what you do. And that's one of my skill sets when I coach boxing now, especially to the young girls. Like, I explain things to them like in a way where I put them mentally in the ring. So I'm like, all right, this is happening. And I'm remembering this happening to me. So now if I do this, then this happens. But if you do this, then that happens. So then, but they take it in a little bit more. There are other kinds of boxing coaching where it's like more, it's more of a workout. And that's fine. Like, sometimes people just need to hit something hard. If you can't hit people, hit mitts. Like, I get that. Like, you know, but I do enjoy being able to coach from a place of experience. And I do enjoy passing off that knowledge. That's actually one of the things that I learned a lot from Colin. Like, being able to, like, that knowledge, you translate into life. Like, when you start getting a lot better and learning more about boxing, you start seeing, like, the parallels everywhere in life. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I'm happy I was able to get there. Now, well, we'll see.
See what happens
next? We'll see.
If you had one piece of advice for your younger self, what would it be?
How young? So chaotic.
Any point throughout your previous life, what do you think is a piece of advice that you have needed to hear the most at a very pivotal point of your journey so far?
Even though I went a different path, I would say always value your education. Because even though I did go a different path, even though it's later than some, I've put the time in to educate myself on what I'm making a living and a career out of. And, you know, we're part of the, what do you call it, the healthcare continuum. If we do our jobs right, then most people don't need to see doctors, and I say that very loosely, because ideally, if you have coaches in your life early on that are telling you to eat right, sleep right, train properly, then it limits certain diseases and stuff from taking place. Type 2 diabetes, hypertension. Do you see what I'm saying? So at least within NASA, which is the National Academy of Sports Medicine, that's where I got one of my certs, they frame trainers as being part of the healthcare continuum. We all have our different scopes of practices. Like, I will not prescribe things to you. This is not my scope of practice. But what I do matters in the whole scheme of things. So I'm very, how do I put this? I'm very happy to be part of this, and that I can help affect change in that way.
You've been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.